super license is what we are now doing for episode 31 of this game. And since I am now finished with WRC01, I think now is a good time for us to begin the final part of the license centre. And to some of you it might be surprising because, well, the International A license and the Special license, as it says there, or as I prefer to call it, the Super license, they are only 7 episodes apart from one another. So for the last time in this game we've got 16 tests. All of these now are 1 lap time trials, and the coffee break, well, that's pretty much a maze, literally. And altogether, we're driving some pretty unique cars here. As for example, we've got the Lancia STRATOS, the Ford GT, also got the Mercedes SLR McLaren, also got the Dodge Viper SRT10, along with the Mitsubishi STARION, the Audi R8, the Peugeot 205, and of course the Bentley Speed 8. But before I waste any more of your time, let's begin at Twin Ring Motegi for test 1 of 16, and where for the first part of this video I will probably do the first 8 tests, and then after this I will be deciding on what to do about the other 8 tests, aside from working my way through them. The coffee break included, of course. But anyway, let's begin. I think this is probably a 3rd gear corner. I correct myself, it's a 2nd gear corner. How far off the gold am I going to be? I am 2 seconds off. So, let's try this again and see if we can do better. So we are getting faster. Not quite fast enough to put together the perfect lap, but I'm pretty much just knocking on the door of the sort of lap that needs to be set in order for me to realistically get the gold. Okay, so smooth entry through there, that often helps. I think where I lost my time was when I chose to run wide onto the grass, and basically, as a result of me hitting the grass, I'm going to assume that must have been where the time was lost in the end. I don't know where my ghost is. Oh, he is right behind me. And now he is ahead of me. Yeah, I might have to consider upshifting for the corner here, just so I can get a more stable exit. And I think that actually worked, because I did manage to gain some extra speed. And through the hairpin I go, and onto the start-finish straight for the East Circuit now. As I cross over the line, I'm almost 4/10 up on my previous best lap, so I think that tells me this lap is definitely looking like it's on pace for a gold. I seem to be far enough ahead to realistically get the job done. A little bit wide there on the exit, but still able to maintain track position. And this is going to be a gold by 6/10, I think. Or 633 of a second. is precisely how I got that one. Anyway, 1 down, 15 to go. Let's now move on to the Italian street course, where we will be driving an Alfa Romeo 1600 Duetto. And as you might have guessed, we will be going through this test Dustin Hoffman style. As I am pretty sure this is the car that no doubt featured in The Graduate. Which, by the way, I should mention is a really good movie, and I highly recommend you watch it if you can. Yeah, I'm not convinced in saying this is a gold lap. Oh, okay. I was only a second off on that lap. Yeah, I think if I didn't step on the brakes all of a sudden through that left-hand kink, I might have actually got it. So in terms of the time I need to gain on this lap, I need to gain pretty much 1.2 seconds. Because, well, last time I was a lot closer to getting the gold than I thought I was going to be. So on the brakes earlier this time, not scrubbing off as much speed as I did before, and it is fair to say the difference immediately shows itself because I have already got some pace on the board by scraping off my speed earlier on the lap, and if it's possible this time I might be able to gain a few tenths. As I'm only 1/10 up, but I think I know where I'm going to gain most of my time. And I still wind up scraping that outside wall, nothing I could do there. Still have no idea how I did not fail for that. Had to upshift a little earlier there than I would, or else the car would have slipped, but I think I did gain some time as a result of me staying off the walls through that tight sequence of corners. I'm definitely up on my previous time because I'm 1.3 seconds clear. So I think it's fair to say I gained a huge chunk of time on in that one sector of the lap alone, so I think it's fair to say this lap is definitely on pace for a gold. And having to rev it about as high as it will go because that's how I get the extra speed, and providing I don't hit the wall here at the end of the lap, or not hit it too much, I think we should be on pace for a gold here. And that's precisely what we are, by less than 2 seconds. That was actually pretty easy altogether. I did not think it was going to be quite that easy, but there we go. 2 golds, and we still have another 14 to go. As I set a 2:15.384 on the Italian street course, driving an Alfa Romeo Spider. And this is where it gets harder, because we are now driving a supercar around Special Stage Route 5, more specifically, and rather appropriately, the Saleen S7. This is where the trial and error truly begins. Is what me thinks. Okay. How far off am I gonna be? I know I'm gonna be off, but the question is by how much. I am off by nearly 2 seconds. I'm not surprised. I almost had it on that previous lap. I think had it not been for the mistakes I made prior to the rest of the lap actually being good, I might have actually had this one. It's very possible to say that I might have succeeded with this. But whether that actually happens this time around or not depends on knowing if I can manage to avoid touching the walls long enough. I think it was here that costed me last time, but I think I might have learned from that now, from what I know. Probably didn't have to step on the brakes there, but I did anyway, just to keep my car looking good, at least for the rest of the lap anyway. Okay, and running a little bit wide there on that corner exit. I'm up by nearly half a second, so I think it's fair to say I do have pace. I think it was here where I gained my time before. Got to go a little deep there on that entry. Also ran a bit wide there on the exit, but that's okay because I'm ahead of the Ghost and I'm pretty sure this is enough for a gold. And yes, it is. Alright, 3 golds and still 13 to go. Nice. Now we are back at Costa di Amalfi, where we are now driving the Lancia STRATOS for a full lap on these coastal roads. And getting some wheel spin off the launch, but I think I'll be okay with that, because I think I know what I have to do for the rest of the lap. And immediate fail. Yeah, this one is actually pretty hard, to say the least. Because, as I said before, you have to cope with dirt tyres while you're basically driving on dry, smooth tarmac. And you also have to figure out how to mitigate the wheel spin as well, which is not a very respectable image, in my opinion. So you know what, I think for most of these corners they're probably 3rd gear, and that's a wall. But we'll wait and see how we go for the rest of the lap. And running wide, that did not go the way I was wanting it to, but at least the lap is still going, so I haven't made enough mistakes yet to physically lose out on the run altogether, but it is fair to say that I still have quite some way to go. Definitely getting some tank slappers here from the Lancia, which is what I was expecting from a 70s rally car that's rear-wheel drive. And of course, for the corners where I really think it's going to be difficult, I keep it in 3rd gear so the wheel spin does not give me too much drama. Also because had I not braked through that one corner there, it's very possible to say the rest of the lap could have been ruined. In other words, I would have failed. These are definitely 1st gear corners here. So you've really got to nail it through those 2 corners there. And is this going to be a gold first try? Yes! Only just. But we did get the gold. By literally the skin of my teeth, I got the gold in the Lancia. Cool. That's really, really, really cool. Now on to Test 5 in Seattle. And where we will be driving the Ford GT. I'm going to assume this must also be a modernised reference to, ironically, the Seattle super license tests in both GT2 and GT3, where you were basically using a Ford GT40 in those two, and now for this one you're using the Ford GT. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the reference point is. I know that because I've played through both games, and also because, well, I can definitely say the GT2 Seattle time trial was easier to get the gold on than the GT3 Seattle super license test, I think is the point I'm trying to make. As I head through the chicane, and my first lap is going to be a 133.8. That actually felt pretty good. I know it wasn't the gold, but it definitely felt good. So let's try and see if we can gain 3/4 of a tenth, which is basically what we need to do here. Okay. I think I got through there okay. And running a little bit wide there, but able to at least keep myself under control as I head over the bumps, or jumps I should say. And gotta go hard on the brakes through that right-hander. I've gained more time as a result of my previous attempt before I slapped the wall on both sides and basically caused myself to go headfirst into the Armco, but able to save myself from catastrophe from those Armco barriers. And now up the straight we go, and heading up to those 90-degree right-handers, and once again getting another tank slapper on the corner entry as I now head through the bus stop past what I think is the Seattle Mariners Stadium. It's either that or the Seahawks Stadium. And that was a very poor corner entry. And going a little deeper there through the chicane. And am I going to get it this time somehow? I somehow do. I get the gold by the skin of my teeth again. In the silver and black Ford GT. Did not think that was going to happen, but I'm so glad it did. Ordinarily I would save the Seattle replay, but this time I'm not going to do that, because I have a different idea on which replay it is I want to save. And now we are here at Ice Arena for test number 6, where this time we are driving the Hyundai Accent. And already it looks like this might become a catastrophe. And I am very loose through these corners at the moment. But we'll wait and see how we go. for the rest of the run. Oh, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. Okay. I somehow did not fail there. That wasn't even good enough for a silver. Oh well, let's try again. See if we can gain 1.4 seconds. Yeah, I kind of figured if I was actually going to gain time there, I had to start in second gear. I think it's fair to say with a bit more throttle control compared to before, I feel like I've actually gained more time. And now I've gained about as much time as I thought I was going to gain. Which, as you might have guessed, is, yes, less than ideal. But whatever, I will fight on. Try to gain as much time as I possibly can. And am I actually going to gain some time? Huh. Amazingly, I gained enough time for a gold. I literally went almost 2 seconds faster as a result of me taking a way smoother entry through that left-right kink. I actually got it to work. I don't know how, but I got it to work. And as a result, I got the gold by half a second. Did not think that was going to happen. But there we go. 6 tasks down, and still 10 to go. As next up, we have Trial Mountain. I think this should be pretty easy. I've driven enough laps around Trial Mountain to know what it is I have to do. I think it's fair to say this will more or less be the same. Okay, let's see how much further we can go here. Okay, I think we're doing well. But as to how well, we'll wait and see. How close am I going to be to the gold? Is it going to be gold first try? Not quite. So I've got 1400ths of a second to make up. Okay. Okay, getting through the right-hander. Probably scrubbed off a little bit too much speed there. Going hard on the brakes this time, because I know a deeper corner entry is usually a better one, and not going too deep through that right-hander, as I'm now heading up through the rocks, and setting a decent enough speed through there. And it looks like I might be able to get everything else in order, as I'm now 8/10 up on my previous best time. Okay, I don't touch the inside wall this time, because I know it would have been disaster if I did. And hard on the brakes through here, using the curbs as well for a little bit more momentum. I'm still half a second up on my previous time, so it's fair to say that I am still gaining time at the moment, which is what I need to be doing. And just got this little chicane to go now, and I almost get it completely crossed up there, but able to still keep it on track and get the gold by half a second. I really thought for sure that was going to be Armageddon, but I somehow prevented Armageddon on that lap. It was so close to happening. I was literally millimeters away from it happening. But yet, by the skin of my teeth, I just saved it. I think it's fair to say that it is extremely easy without assists and with super hard tyres, which is what I'm doing for most of these tests, or running that set of tyres on for most of these tests. It's just so easy to get caught out by you putting in too much of that throttle percentage. So this is now the halfway point of the Super license, which takes place in Tokyo. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do here. I'm strongly convinced in saying that this car hates me, because of how many times I've already killed myself with it. I'm convinced in saying that this car hates me. As in, this car basically is just murdering me to the point of where it really just does not want to be here, but yet it's somehow here anyway, for whatever reason. And it's basically doing whatever it takes to kill me, because it's trying to show who precisely is the superior figure. And so far, it's done that to me very well. I'm going to step on the brakes this time, because if I don't, then the car will snap on me again. And nowhere near as deep on the curbs that time, so I think it's fair to say I might have this one. Got to go on the brakes through here. Got much more control through the corners now compared to before. So it's fair to say this is working out for me at the moment. I think the time I might have gained now should be just enough to get the gold. I think we're on pace for a gold here. And yes, we are. We were on pace for a gold by a long way, in fact. As I set a 132.4. In spite of all the times the car physically wanted to murder me, I somehow tamed it long enough to actually put together a gold run. And part of the reason I did that was, well, because I lifted off the throttle through the left-right hand kink. And that was where I gained most of my time, because I lifted off the throttle for a split second and, quite surprisingly, I actually benefited. So, 8 tests are down, and we still have another 8 tests to go once we're done with the coffee break, as this time we are going through a maze. And where for this we are driving a Honda Beat. I think I made one too many mistakes on this run for it to be a gold. And yep, that pretty much seals it. Okay, I need to find 1.5 seconds. I'm going to make sure this time I actually hit the cones instead of missing them. So then I don't have to try going after them again on my return serbs. I think that's probably my best choice at this stage, in terms of actually getting my shit together. Okay. And that's a wall. Well, I'm not surprised. Okay, a little bit more in reverse. Okay. I think we're on pace to set a good run here, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily accounting for anything that will be truly amazing. Just as long as I hit every cone, I think we should be good. And again, that's a wall. But that's okay, because I still get the gold. And I improve by a significant chunk, which is amazing. Okay, so that's now our 5th and final coffee break, done here in GT4. And now I'm going to move on to task number 9, but before we continue, I'm going to need a break for a few minutes. So I'll be right back. I have now had a stretch off, been to the bathroom, and also refilled my cup with another drink. A drink of juice, of course. And now here we are for El Capitan. And where I am driving the Dodge Viper SRT10. And where hopefully this will not take me too long to get this car figured out. Especially since this is technically a crossover between a muscle car and a supercar. Almost went too deep there for that corner, but able to at least keep myself in the picture. And almost getting crossed up through there, but able to somehow keep myself in check from my previous mistake. And up by a 10th. Got a lift for this blind crest here, and I probably lifted a bit too much there because I stepped on the brakes, but I think I should be able to gain time again because I slapped the outside wall there. And this is my best time to close up again, as I short shift through this long sweeping left-hander and lifting slightly as I go over the bridge, and got another left-hander to cope with here, and I think the speed I have should be enough to score the gold now, because I've got to be at least 2/10 up by now, so barring any serious mistakes before the end of the lap, this should be enough for the gold. The time we need for a gold is a 1 minute 47.8. I'd say I'm on course for a 47, and that's what I get. A 1 minute 47.1. Gotta say, that was pretty hard, but I did push myself through, as you would have guessed. 7 tests remain. As we now move on to Infineon Raceway for test number 10. Correction, Grand Canyon for test number 10. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Okay, let me correct myself. I'm pretty sure that Infineon Raceway is the next test. Or I at least know that Sonoma, which is Infineon, comes up some point after this test. Grand Canyon comes first, and then I think it's after this one that we get Sonoma. I think that's our next test. So we're now at Grand Canyon, which is in Colorado. Ironically, also the state that is home to Denver. It's honestly the one other thing you think about when you come to Colorado, aside from the city of Denver, Denver International Airport, and of course, to my pro football fans out there who watch me, the Denver Broncos. And so far, this lap actually feels pretty good. I don't know how fast it is, but I think it'll at least be on course for a silver, from what I can see. Although, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I haven't exactly done a lap around Grand Canyon for a bit. So this is going to be interesting to see how we cope with this. But I think we should be okay. I think I've got some time. As to how much time, I'm not sure, but I think I should have enough time to at least get a silver as I run wide through that right-hander, but either way, I think we're doing okay, so we'll wait and see how we go. That was not a first gear corner. I braked too soon for the corner. Let's see, how much time am I gonna have on the board here? Is it gonna be enough for a gold? Oh, it's definitely gonna be enough for a gold. But by how much? 2.7 seconds. And I basically put together that lap without even thinking about it. I somehow got the gold first try in the Mitsubishi STARION. I did not think that was going to be a gold first try. I basically just went out, wung it, and then as a result of me winging it, I actually did it. I have no idea how that works, but if it looks like it works, and it feels like it works, then it works. That, by the way, is a Snow Patrol reference. Oh, okay, yeah, now I remember. Yeah, so Grand Canyon is first, then it's Opera Paris, and then I think the next one is Sonoma. I think, if I remember correctly. Anyway, we are now in Opera Paris for test number 11. Has also been a while since I last did the super license, so don't be surprised if it's because of that I am making a lot of my mistakes. But we'll wait and see by how much. Okay, I need to gain 1.6 seconds in order to get the gold. Okay, and because I had a bit more balance on the rev counter that time, that was why I got the stronger launch. Okay, and probably a bit too much on the brakes there, but I think my mistakes are coming through the bus stop. That's where I'm losing most of my time. But I think it's fair to say that that time around I got a much smoother entry and exit through there, so I think it's obvious to say that whatever it is I'm managing to do through that bus stop section, it does seem to be working, as I am now up by at least almost a second interval wise. Not bad. And slight tap of the brakes, and I almost hit the wall there, but able to keep the car under control. I was very loose on that second straightaway, but able to make the corrections. I was very much on the edge of failure there, but I somehow kept it in my grasp. And just like that, I'm going to gain at least a second, as I set a 135.9 as a result of me almost dying, but right there on the very cliff edge, I succeed with the gold. In spite of me being just inches away from death, I somehow got it. Yeah. Okay. Let me make some corrections towards the mistakes I've been making before. I have done this lap already, but this is a separate take where I accidentally chose to view the demo replay, and for that reason alone, that's why the gold time I actually set is not there. But fortunately, there are these display rankings that does show the best times that you've set, and I figured, well, that's pretty much the gold time I set. It hasn't been deleted. It's only because I showcased the demonstration lap time that my best overall time got deleted. So let's now move on to test number 12, which is at Suzuka Circuit. And I do know all the tracks we're heading to, including this one. So this one is the other GT500 car test, as we'll be driving a GT500 Nissan 350Z. Then after this one, our next one takes place at Sonoma with the Audi R8. And then after that, we've got Chamonix in the Peugeot 205. Then we've got Le Mans with the Bentley Speed 8. And last but not least, we have the Nürburgring. Hopefully that manages to clear a few things up and exonerate me from any mistakes I might have made earlier on in the LP. But anyway. Well, at least any mistakes that happened earlier on in the segment. And what time am I going to set first and foremost? I think it's going to be a 156. It's a 156.7. So we've got some time to improve on. Let's see if we can get it. I think if there's one thing I have come to establish about Suzuka, it's that it really likes to show just how far off you realistically are, in terms of how far off you think you are. Which at this time is precisely what I believe Suzuka is doing to me. And I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, because, well, in all honesty, I do kind of need that sort of thing in order to know where precisely I need to do better. As we head through Dunlop once again, and on the brakes for Degner 1, and got a much better entry through Degner 2 that time. And now heading through the hairpin it looks like I have at least a few tenths on my Ghost, or hopefully I will by the time we get past Spoon Corner. Okay. I think I got a reasonable exit out of Spoon there, but we won't know until we get to the end of the lap over how fast I really am. And got a lift for 130R. I do manage to get rewarded for it because I gain a few tenths there on the corner exit. And I'm convinced in saying that this time we might just have it. And we do. By just over 1.5 tenths, we got the needle threaded at Suzuka. Again, as I said before, Suzuka is definitely one of my favourites of this whole license because, well, I definitely feel like it's one of those tracks that really does test you mentally, and you do feel like you've been rewarded once you've got the full lap in, because it really is one of very few racetracks in the world that actually is a figure-of-8 circuit configuration, sort of. And now we are on the shores of Sonoma, California, where we are in wine country. And we are at Sonoma Raceway. And where this time, we are at the Infineon Raceway test I was mentioning about earlier. And this, I can tell, is going to take me a bit of time to fully get used to, but I think I should be okay. In spite of the fail. But we'll see how we go for the rest of the time. I know we're going to be off, but by how much? Okay, 8 tenths. So we need to gain another 8 tenths. Hopefully this time at least my left hand analog stick is not going to switch off on me again all of a sudden, like it did earlier on, and ironically just now, but hopefully I've got that little problem I had sorted out, and I can focus on the rest of the lap, which is what I'm here to do. Okay. I should be far enough ahead now, but as to how far I get, honestly I find it amazing to consider how far out I can run through there. And I'm up by over a second. As I step on the brakes, I should definitely have more than enough time now to realistically get the goal this time. And through the final corner, and the time I set is a 1:15.6 in the Audi R8. Really was not thinking that was going to be the case, but here we are. So 13 tests down, and we still have another 3 to go. I'm also going to save the replay here, because this is technically the track I want to use for my clickbait. Also because, well, I was really wanting to get a picture of the Audi. So that's what we're doing. For what will probably be the last video that I record in 2024. And yeah. Oh, what do you know? I was right. It has been 2 weeks since I played this game. Or at least last recorded an episode of. But anyway, I think we've been at this now for nearly 2 hours, so we only have 3 to go, so that's actually not bad going for one day. Anyway, now we are at Chamonix, and where we will be racing mostly on snow and ice, but we will also be racing on tarmac for the opening sector, and I immediately hit the wall. You will not catch me out with copyrighted audio, YouTube. I will make sure you don't do it. And I still hit the outside wall anyway. And also hitting the inside wall for a moment there, but hopefully we should be okay. Yeah, I'm just going full send on the revs here, because that's about the only thing I really feel like I can do here. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Hopefully, if it's possible this time around, I can actually set the lap. Which at this time is what I have been having trouble with. But hopefully this time, that will not be the case. As we're driving a Peugeot 205 around the French mountain peaks, and gotta keep it careful here through here. Had to go hard on the brakes so I didn't fail again. And this time, I'd say we're doing okay. Since we are technically driving a Group B monster around here, I'd say we're doing okay up here. Plus I do technically know my way around Chamonix pretty well, so I'd say we should be okay for the rest of the lap here. As long as I can stay out of the walls, I think we should be okay. Just gotta stay out of the fence, and then I think we should be fine. I think my pace is pretty solid, since we only have 2 corners to go. It's actually not too hard to get the gold here, as I've got 1 more corner left to locate. And across the line, I go 2 seconds faster than my required time, so pretty easy altogether, if I do say so myself, as I went 2.14 seconds faster than the target lap time. Anyway, 2 tests to go now, as our next one is at Le Mans, and where we are driving the true British Racing Green Bentley Speed 8. And yes, we are driving Le Mans, of course, with the chicanes on the Mulsanne. So I think we should be okay here, once we set the lap. think I know the sort of pace I need to set. Just depends on knowing if it will translate. So we're now onto the Mulsanne. So we're now onto the separated Mulsanne straights, for which we have a total of 4 to negotiate here if you include the chicanes. And getting some pretty solid pace out of the car from what I can see. I don't know how fast I'm going to be on my initial run, but I don't think we're going to be too far off the gold if we miss it. I'd say we're going to be pretty close to the gold, the way I see it. So, up to this point, I'd say the lap is going okay. I think the real test is going to be at the Nürburgring. And I think it's fair to say that we're definitely on pace to setting what I think will at least be good enough for a silver. I don't think it'll be quite in the gold region, but I reckon we're going to be close as we now head down the 4th long straight and through Indianapolis as I now head up to Arnage Corner, keeping it in 3rd gear to maintain stability of the car. Got a decent exit off of there. And now heading up Maison Blanche, up to the Porsche curves. So heading through the Porsche curves now. Can I set a lap on my first attempt, please? It would be really nice if I could. Okay. Keeping everything in control, as we're now heading up towards the Ford chicanes now to end off the lap. How far off am I going to be? Is it going to be enough for a gold? It looks like it just might be. Hey! I set a 3 minute 18.969. Nice. I was exactly 1 second up. And I got the gold on this one first try. You know what? I think just because of the nice lap we set, I'm actually going to let this one run its course. Because of the nice lap we set in the Bentley Speed 8. That just felt amazing. That lap was a lot of fun, man. It just was. I really loved it. I really did. Okay, that's pretty much let the gold jingle run its course now. And I gotta say, that was a lot of fun. I would have considered getting a saved replay here at Le Mans, but actually on second thoughts, I'll replace my previous replay with this one because of just how amazing that lap felt. It was just an amazing lap. It really was. And I just had a ton of fun setting it the way I did. As in, I felt like everything that had to go right for that lap just did go right. And you know what? I'm going to replace my previous replay because of it. And also because, well, obviously with me being a stiff-assed Brit, which yes is a James Bond reference, I figured it was only appropriate for me to get the Bentley. Because I wanted to. Also because this was the one and only car that beat the Audi R8 during its years of domination at the 24 Hours of Le Mans from 2000 to 2005. The Bentley Speed 8 caught in between, of course, with that win in 2003. Anyway, one task to go. At the Nürburgring. And this I can guarantee is going to take me a few tries to set properly. But I think I'll get there eventually, because I normally do with the Nürburgring. Hi there, Editing Jordan here, and as you might have guessed, this is of course me doing a voiceover segment for the actual gold run here at the Nürburgring, and in all honesty, if there is one way I could basically summarise the lap I set, it was honestly about as fast as my heart's contempt could possibly go around the green hell. And it is fair to say, of course, that this track, a lot like Mount Panorama in a way, if you get one of these corners wrong, or you enter one of these corners with too much speed, this place can punish you greatly. But at the same time, aside from the roads themselves being very narrow and bumpy, it's also fair to say that you've no doubt got to be committed pretty much 100% of the way to realistically set a solid lap time around here. And ultimately, after my first run, when I was basically 4 seconds back from the goal time, I wound up being 5.1 seconds up on the target goal time that I was needing to set in order to achieve the gold. But it is fair to say, of course, that for this game at least, I would honestly argue there is no better place to end off the license centre in this game than at the Nürburgring, because it really does show just how fast you really are. And if you're able to find those extra tenths of a second, if not extra seconds in general, through each of the many sector splits that Nürburgring Nordschleife has to offer, then you can definitely feel enthralled, but also relieved when you do manage to set a lap. Basically, it is going to take some time to get used to the constantly changing oscillation of the Nürburgring, and I can guarantee that it will take you at least a few hours of practice to get fully used to the course, because that's ironically what the case was with me when I first started setting hot laps around Nürburgring Nordschleife. And even though I have technically set probably hundreds of laps, possibly even thousands of laps around Nürburgring Nordschleife, I can confidently assure you in saying that it never gets any fucking easier. There's a reason why they call this place the Green Hell. And it's not just because of all the fucking trees that you basically just have to go foot to the floor through in order to realistically understand the scenery of greenery. Because that's more or less what I honestly believe these dangerous but remarkable German roads, well, deadly but remarkable German roads, that really, for want of a better phrase, just reward you so greatly when you manage to enter each of these corners with enough force to actually go foot to the floor. And there were definitely a few corners where I did manage to do that. You definitely have to be a risk taker in order to get the gold here at the Nürburgring. And it is fair to say, of course, that this definitely turned out to be probably one of the greatest laps I've probably ever run at the Nürburgring. And it is fair to say that it did also take me probably less than an hour to actually get the lap itself set. And yes, as you might have guessed, there were plenty of failed attempts that came in between, but again, it's the Nürburgring. The roads, as I said before, are narrow, and the margin for error is practically non-existent. So, it is fair to say you will definitely fail this test a few times before you pass. Basically, the only real advice I can offer towards you actually getting the gold here at the Nürburgring, basically, you just have to go about as fast as you can. If you feel like you can go fast enough to get the gold, then go for it. But if you don't feel like you want to go for the gold, then don't risk it. Because if you do, and you don't have enough experience around the Nürburgring, you could see yourself being more accident prone than you would want to be. But if you are committed to getting the gold, then it will require at least a few hours of practice, if you're a beginner, to realistically get used to pretty much all the shit that this course has loaded. Because it basically has pretty much everything you could ask for. Basically, you just have to push the car to its very limits, decide over whether or not you feel like you can be the risk taker, and if so, you just have to hope that your momentum in between doesn't break. The Nürburgring will definitely punish you a few times before you manage to set the lap, as I said before. And it is fair to say, of course, that if you have as many years of racing experience as I do, then you eventually will come to understand the true beauty and the real test of what Nürburgring gives you, about what it takes to very much be the hero, and what it more or less takes to, well, I guess you could say, be the anti-hero, if you will. Not the unhero, but more like the anti-hero. But yeah. This place, to put it simply, it's ironically frightening to drive around at speed, but it's also very rewarding once you know you've managed to set the target time you want to set, and knowing that you've just managed to pass the super license in general. It just really gives you that awesome feeling to say that you've actually come out of the storm. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I can offer about this. So now, all I can really say is, as the gold jingle is playing in the background, back to the video itself. Okay, peace. So upon doing one, I guess you could say, cooldown lap of the Nürburgring time trial in this game, I can definitely say, me having to gain those 9 seconds the way I did in the end, it really drained me. But at the same time, it honestly feels about as fitting but fair as it does pretty much being joyful as well as reliefful. And I can definitely say it's relieving when you do manage to set a lap time as good as I did in the end. I was not expecting myself to gain 5 seconds in the end on my targeted gold time. If I really wanted to, I could have saved the replay, but I'll leave the Nürburgring for another day, because, well, as you can tell, I just really want to get the fucking hell out of here. So first of all, we get our Super License, or as it's called in the PAL version, our Special License. So for getting all bronze, we unlock the Mercury Cougar, which I think is in beige, but I don't know for sure what the colour is. It's either beige or yellow. That's what we get for all bronze. For all silver, we get this Pontiac Solstice. And I gotta say, this thing looks really nice. I may consider using this thing at some point, because of how much I like it. Maybe that's just me. Anyway. That's what we get for all silver, and for all gold we get this glorious Ford Model T. A true icon of automotive history. Especially since this car ironically had a 19-year production history. But there we go. That was the special / super license of Gran Turismo 4. Started off with the Honda Gathers Drider Civic race car, and ended with the Mercedes 190e Evo 2 touring car. It's done. It's over. And I'm so glad I don't have to set another lap around the Nürburgring at the mega speeds I did before. And we've now unlocked Cathedral Rocks, along with Costa di Amalfi. I'm so glad that's over. So, nearly 3 hours later, and no change in the progression because, well, the GT games just have a very strange way from time to time of not really moving up on the progression. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the cars that we won. So first and foremost, for all bronze, we get this, Jamaican yellow. Yeah, I thought it might have been yellow, but I couldn't tell you which one. Anyway, in Jamaican yellow, we get the Mercury Cougar XR7 from 1967. And a car that also has 320 horsepower. Which, in all honesty, is not too bad. So that's for all bronze. Now, I need to find the Pontiac. Here it is. For all silver, we get the Pontiac Solstice Coupe Concept. And because it's a concept car, we cannot sell it for anything. And obviously, I am of course going to keep this thing, because I will have some usage for it. But as to what that is, well, stay tuned and you'll find out soon enough. So that's for all silver, and last but not least, for all gold, once I find Ford, here it is, we get this beautiful 1915 Ford Model T Tourer in black Japan enamel. And we cannot sell this car for anything. I'd honestly say that's fair, but honestly, for Polyphony to literally get this car in this game, it's honestly the sort of thing that just makes me say yes every time. Because of just how much of a cultural icon the Ford Model T really is. Especially with its almost 20-year production that it had. So now, I'm going to save the game, and that will pretty much do it for my 2024 video projects. So, next time on Gran Turismo 4, returning to the rally events. See you on the flip side in 2025.